Hello, I hope all are well. I'm giving this lesson today on Habakkuk, the prophet Habakkuk. My name is Minister Gregory Sparks II, and the prophet Habakkuk was one of the minor prophets. So we're going to just give a little overview of the prophet as well as prophecies and a little bit of history. So the first thing to note is that there is little known about Habakkuk, his history or his origin, but there is a lot of conjecturing, a lot of historical noting at different times. It's believed that he actually lived in or around Judah before the time of captivity, in Babylon, and based on that's based on his prophecies and based on what he said in his prophecies about the Chaldeans, and which are the Babylonians, who would take the Jews into captivity. Now, there's no real dating that has easily been able to be done to be able to give an exact date or exact timing of his prophecies, because there was no king noted in the book to be able to use as chronological data to find out exactly when he was doing his prophecies and setting out. But his prophecies are noted, and they are here because of what he said. But it is believed also that he might have been one of the tribe of Levi, somebody of the tribe of Levi who sang and played in the temple because of his writing style, as well as the fact that he wrote in the 3rd chapter a song given to the chief musician. That kind of denotes that he's one of those individuals who does music and is in the musical part, so more than likely in the tribe of Levi. So if you're looking at the time of captivity, so they're possibly dating him somewhere around either the early 6th century, late 6th century, or early 7th century BC. So he's somewhere in that realm. They say somewhere around 620, either 655 or 605, possibly because of whether he's before the captivity or during the captivity that he was writing and doing his prophecies. So to get down into a little bit more here of the possible history, the rabbinic tradition believes that he is the Shunammite woman's son, the woman who Elisha restored her son to life. That's what they believe that's what is taught that he is in the rabbinic tradition. But as far as anything else, there's not really a lot out there on him, other than in books that aren't necessarily in the Bible, Baal and the Dragon, things like that. But it is contested 2 different places where his tomb might be. One in Israel and one in Iran. Actually, it's believed that he was taken into captivity, and that he died, and he actually is buried in a city in Iran. And they actually have Jews as well as Muslims who go to this place to pay homage, I guess, to say that he is there. But the tomb in Israel is believed to really be his tomb, given to a few of the saints in later times, stating that that's where the tomb was set. But that is basically the information that we know about Habakkuk. So, moving on to a little bit more into his prophecies, and maybe a little bit more into actually his the timing and everything that's going on at that time. So, regardless of the origin, regardless of where he came from, his prophecies are very unique, in that they are very poetic, and it's more of a it's not necessarily a straightforward prophecy the way he states it and the way he puts everything. It's more of a poem, and I'll get into a little bit more of what that kind of states a little bit later. But during that time, there was a lot of the political climate at that time. There was a lot of turmoil, a lot of tumultuous time because of all of the attacks that had been happening, Jerusalem falling, then the Nineveh falling before that, so that the Chaldeans actually took over Nineveh and took Jerusalem and took Daniel and some of the other nobles into captivity in Nineveh and over to Babylon. So if you're looking, Jerusalem happened. Judah was less than 100 years after that it actually fell. So there was time to be able to possibly get back, to be able to restore. But Judah was still working in sin. They were still worshiping other gods and having all types of other traditions and religions connected in with them. So, the kings kept going on and on down the rabbit hole of paganism. And so Judah was still partly actually, they still had a lot of people that were still worshiping God. They were still worshiping God, and it looks like Habakkuk was one of the worshipers, and he was still trying to help to get the people back. In the first chapter, he really was arguing with God, really, to be honest. And so just let's get into his prophecies, into what the meat of the chapter, the book here. So in Hebrew, the Hebrew language, Habakkuk means wrestler or embracer. And so when you're looking at someone, and that actually explains so well what he was doing in the books. So in the first chapter, it's a back and forth. He's wrestling. He's arguing with God. God gave him either some dreams or some seeings, and he was saying, no, this can't be. Like, how could you let this people do this? How could you let me see this? How could you keep bringing this to my attention? And I can't see you doing this because you're a God of pure eyes. How could you let this people do this? How could you bring this evil nation up to do this to your people? And that's what he was really trying to convey and trying to argue with God about, saying, how art thou not from everlasting to everlasting, O Lord my God, mine Holy One? We shall not die. Don't let us die, Lord. Don't let this happen to us. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil. Verse 13, and canst not look on iniquity. Wherefore lookest thou upon them to deal treacherously? How could you let this people deal with your people this way? these are evil people, and we're your children. We're our God, and we trust in you, and you're telling me this is going to happen. You're letting this happen, which is why I can personally see this being during after they had already heard about what happened in Jerusalem, because of the way he's speaking about it. Talking about the Chaldeans and knowing who they are, knowing that they are hasty people, and that they're bitter, and that they to march through they just possess it. They just want to possess stuff that's not theirs, and he's trying to argue his point. He's trying to reason with God, and it's not good. It's not what you want to see. Even at the same time, there was not Noah, but Jonah was trying to reason with God at some point. He wasn't trying to reason with God, but he was trying to argue that no, this can't be. You can't send me to this people, that evil people. You can't do that. But you can't argue with God. So Habakkuk was trying to argue with God, and then he would pray. Then he was praying to God, and God, please don't do this. Please don't let this happen to your people. Don't judge us. But knowing in the second chapter, he's starting to realize the sins of the people, starting to realize what's going on and why the things are the way they are, and understanding that this is happening because of what's going on in Judah, and seeing what's going on in Judah, how the people are transgressing through wine, and taking up parables against God, and doing things that aren't godly. So he sees it. Okay, chapter 1, he's arguing with God. Chapter 2, he's seeing what's going on. And then he moves on, and some of the words are very catching, and this is why you see the poetry in it. In verse 20 in chapter 2, it says, "But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him." He is at the end of chapter 2, he has embraced the fact that, okay, this is going to happen. But God is still God, and he's the holy God, and he's in his holy temple, and all the earth just has to be quiet. Everybody has to just let God be God, and he's going to do what he's going to do. So you see like I said, in chapter 1, and then in the beginning of chapter 2, he's the one of the words that resonate with me and resonate through, the just shall live by faith. So he's trying to say, okay, well, if we're going to be just, if we can do this, we got to live by faith. And then he started to see the sins of the people, because they weren't living by faith. They weren't living according to God's will. And that's why God raised up this people against them. So then we move on into chapter 3. And this is the real part that is a little bit different, is he speaks of the judgment of the Chaldeans. He speaks of what's going to happen to them. So rejoice and be okay, Israel, because this people who's going to take you into captivity, guess what? They're going to be judged as well. God is going to judge them as well. So you can take heart in knowing that eventually they will be judged. And so hopefully this will reconcile you. This will help you. So if they're being judged because of what they did to you. So if you turn yourself back to God, if you do the things that you're supposed to do, eventually God will turn his back on them. So just to really sum it up here, we're looking at Habakkuk. He is, like I said, not very well known, not a oft written about prophet. outside of the book written in his namesake. But his prophecies stand the test of time because they are true. They did come true. They are ones that spoke to what was happening at the time. And really, the uniqueness of it is the fact that he is the wrestler, and he also is the embracer. He embraced the people. He embraced the understanding that what was going to happen to the people. And he was also able to give them a little bit of hope that in the end, God still loves you and he still has the final say. The Lord God is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds feet, and he will make me to walk upon mine high places. So he is, at the end, he's saying God is God. God is the strength, and he's going to give strength to our feet. He's going to give strength, and I will rejoice in the Lord, and I will joy in the God of my salvation. He's the God of our salvation. He's the God of salvation. He's going to save his people. That's what he's saying at the end, is that regardless of what's going on, regardless of what's going to happen, although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall the fruit be in the vine, the labor of mine olive shall fail, and the field shall yield no meat, and the flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. So we're going to go into captivity. This is going to happen. We know it's going to happen. And I'm telling you it's going to happen, but I'm telling you to rejoice, so that even though this is going to go down, we can rejoice in the God of our salvation, because he's going to save us. So that's really the meat and potatoes of Habakkuk. And it really is a lesson and understanding that, number one, prophecy is not without backlash. It's not without, you being able to question. He was a questioner, and it's okay to question. It's okay to reason. It's okay to not feel like things should go that way, but to understand that at the end of the day, we trust in a mighty God. We trust in a God of salvation. So he will save us. He will be there. He will do what he said he would do. And if we have faith, if we live by faith, that's why I sat in front of this sign here my wife put up. If we live by faith, that we will be made right. We will be made just, and the just shall live by faith. So that's Habakkuk in a little bit of a nutshell. I hope everybody got a little something out of it. And thank God and God bless.
We are so grateful for our guest speaker, and we thank you for joining us for this week's session of Saturday School at the Institute. If this video blessed you, please share it with your friends and connections on your favorite social media platforms. Also, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search Refuge Temple. Please consider supporting our ministry with a small financial gift. We also welcome you to become a member of the Bible Institute. To do so, go to our website, and there will be a link on the top to show you how to sign up for the member subscription. As a member, we will keep you updated with Institute events and information. Also, information for supporting the work of this ministry is provided on the end slide. Please consider supporting us, and we appreciate your time and your support. Also, check out our website for more information about us. God bless you, and we will see you next week.